Capital Hoops. Today we are at Southern High School, continuing our series Beyond the X's and O's. Today we're with head coach Will Maynard. Coach, we appreciate you letting us in here. We look forward to getting to know you a little bit better and getting a little bit of your basketball background.
I appreciate it. It's an honor to be on this segment with some of the great coaches that you've already had in your previous segments.
Appreciate it, Will. So let's start off by just giving me a little bit of background on yourself. I know you grew up in the area here, but
yeah, I'm a South County guy, born and raised. Grew up in a single-parent household. I mean, my mother worked for the government. Very strict, very loving. She taught me a lot of things. She taught me a lot about sacrifice. I never had a bedtime. I never had a curfew. But she also told me that there's also consequences to things you do. So you can stay up all night and watch TV, but when that alarm goes off at 6:30, regardless if you're tired or not, you're going to have to get up and go to school. You can go ahead and drive after 12 o'clock, but if you get pulled over and you're in provisionals, that's on you. So, that's one thing that I'm really grateful that she taught me.
Great. And then you went to high school here?
Yeah, I went to high school here. Yeah, my alma mater. I had a couple private schools. It was between Cardinal Gibbons, DeMatha, and here. But I think just growing up in the area, I was going to games for years, seeing players before me like Vincent Barnett and Chadney Howard and Corey Conti and guys like that was here before me. It made me want to come here. I just like the family atmosphere, and I don't have any regrets about going public over private.
Tell me about your career here. What kind of player were you, and how was Southern basketball during your tenure here?
My freshman year, I was a JV call-up. I played 2 games of JV. We actually went to states. We lost to Central. Up then it was at Bacole Fieldhouse. We lost to them a game we could have won, which we probably would have ended up. If we had got past them, we probably would have ended up winning the championship because the other teams, I think we matched up better with them. I started for 3 years. I was over 1,000-point score. I think I might be like 4th in school history with scoring. I was all-county, all-state 2 years. So I had a good high school career. After I finished high school, I went to junior college. I went to Catonsville and played under Randy Gregory, who just retired a couple of years ago. I was grateful to play for him. He taught me a lot. He was definitely a player's coach, but he also, put his foot in, and I tell he didn't play. We couldn't wear like do-rags. We wasn't allowed to wear do-rags around campus. When our study halls were done, we had to make sure that our study hall sheets were on time. We had to make sure we was at practice on time, not 5 minutes before practice started. 15, 20 minutes before practice started. So he taught me a lot. And go back to my high school coach, Mr. Albright. I learned a lot from him because he was legendary. He won 5 state championships. One of the most well-known coaches in the area. So I was grateful to learn a lot from him too. After I went to Catonsville, I ended up getting a scholarship to Shepherd, West Virginia, under Ken Tyler and stuff like that. And then I would have started. I know he had named me captain of the preseason and stuff like that, but then I just decided I wanted to focus on my academics, and I stopped playing, which he wasn't happy about.
So did you play Shepherd at all?
No, I didn't. I stopped right before.
But you had a scholarship.
Yeah.
That wasn't for basketball?
It was for basketball. Oh yeah.
So the scholarship end?
Yeah. Well, I left at the end of the semester, and then I ended up transferring to UDC where I finished. So then UDC found out that UDC saw me playing pickup in the open gym, and the coach offered me a scholarship on the spot.
And did you take it?
Nah, I didn't. I just wanted to focus on my academics. I was past that. I was like, you know what? I need to get on to the next chapter of my life.
And what position did you play?
Point guard.
You were a 1?
Oh, yeah, I was a point guard.
Like a pass first one, a scoring one?
Scoring one.
Yeah?
I was a scoring one, yeah.
Okay.
It was fun.
So you graduated from UDC?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And with
in economics? Yes, sir.
And what do you do after you finish at UDC?
Well, after I finished at UDC, at the time while I was at UDC, I was working overnights at Home Depot, and I started coaching. And I think that was one of the reasons why I did not take that scholarship at UDC, because I had actually started coaching, and I actually started liking it. and it still kept me involved in the game. So I think it was a lot easier to walk away.
So while you were at UDC, you were coaching?
I was working overnights and coaching because my old high school coach let me coach summer league,
Okay.
and then he ended up retiring that year. And my old assistant coach, the guy that coached me, Ray Bourne, who was our current AD, he coached me, and he brought me on staff, and I mean I've been coaching ever since.
So you coached. So you started off coaching summer league.
I coached summer league because back then coaches couldn't coach summer
Right.
league. Yeah.
Right. And then at what point did you kind of move from summer league to like a part of the Southern staff?
Well, that fall when my old high school coach retired, and because I had no intentions on helping, I just was going to be content just being a summer league coach.
Right.
And then when my AD, our current AD, Ray Bourne, ended up getting a job, he knew that I knew a lot of kids because I coached them during the summer, so he just added me to the staff.
And what was your role?
I was a volunteer varsity assistant.
Volunteer varsity assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And how long? I know at some point you became JV coach.
Yeah, I was a volunteer varsity assistant for that 1 year.
Okay.
Then that next year, the JV coach had left, and then he offered me the job, and then I was coaching JV for a number of years.
So you coached JV, and then at what point did the promotion come from JV to varsity?
Well, Ray ended up deciding that he wanted to spend more time with his family and stuff like that. So we knew before the season it was going to be his last year.
And when was this?
This was the 2010-2011 season.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were kind of the coach in waiting that year?
He did a good job of molding me, and I'm very grateful for that. I mean, he gave me a lot of responsibilities, which I think really prepared me to be a head coach. You know, a lot of people have, coached under guys that are just all about, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, and then guys are just sitting there doing nothing. But I was fortunate enough to coach with him where he put some responsibilities on me that definitely helped my transition to becoming a head coach in varsity a lot easier than it would have been.
So you take over as the big dog, 2010, 2011.
Yep.
And what was that process like from being the JV coach to being the coach on the varsity level? Was it tough? Was it?
It was tough because now my whole mindset changed. Because on JV, my mindset was development. I need to get these kids ready for varsity. I need to make my varsity head coach job a lot easier.
Right.
But then, now varsity, it's about playoff seeding now. Now I got to worry about getting kids into school. Now, kids' mentality changed from freshman year to junior year. As a freshman, you kind of like a little bit just like, oh, well, I'm going to listen to everything the coach say because you don't know what to expect. Now as a junior and senior, you've been in the program 2, 3, 4 years, and now you just feel comfortable, and now you might feel lazy, and now you're driving, going to parties, more distractions. So,
So how do you challenge the kids? You're a new coach, and obviously these kids have distractions. What do you do differently to kind of keep them in check?
Well, I was fortunate enough that I had a group of kids that I had already coached on JV.
Right.
So I kind of knew everybody and already had a relationship, so that made it a lot easier. What also made it a lot easier too was we had lost our whole team the year before, pretty much, our main guys. So we was kind of rebuilding, so it was a lot easier. I think it would have been a lot harder if I had taken over the year before when we were loaded. You know what I mean? But the fact that I was on a rebuilding team, so it was probably good for me that I had a team like that so that we could grow together.
So how was the team in terms of like wins and losses?
We weren't that good.
But the year prior to your first year, they were good?
The year before, we had a good team. I thought that we probably could have contended for a state. I mean, we had 2 Division I basketball players, which is a lot in public school.
Yeah.
And we had Division I football player. And then we had a couple other guys that played college athletics. But it had injuries after injuries after injuries. And then things didn't happen the way we wanted to. But, I mean, I still enjoy being around a great group of kids. I mean, a lot of them now getting their degrees and stuff like that now. And like I said, I was able to watch, 4 of them playing college. So it was a great group of kids.
So you will be entering your 7th year, is that right?
This will be my 7th year.
This will be your 7th year. Tryouts are a couple weeks away.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need to do to get Southern to Comcast? I know that's the goal for every coach.
Mm-hmm.
What's it going to take? I know you got a big dog who just committed to a D1 school.
Yes.
Very recently.
Mm-hmm.
But what are you going to need to do to get Southern where you want them to get?
I think what we're gonna have to do is, I think the first thing we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to play like seniors. And what I mean by play like seniors, play with a sense of urgency. You know, sometimes you get a group of seniors that are nonchalant and don't care and just focusing on other things. So I need my seniors to play like seniors. I need my seniors to play like this is their last hurrah. I need my seniors to play like there's no tomorrow. I also need some of my young kids to speed up. I mean, it's a possibility that we might have a couple of young kids, underclassmen, freshmen, and sophomore, on varsity. So I'm going to need them to get used to the speed of the game. I mean, that's why we play in a tough summer league. That's why we go to tough team camps. You know, we do that not because we want to win games during the summer. We want to get better. We want to gain experience. You don't win a championship during the summer. Playing against kids that aren't that good is not going to make us better. You know, we need to play against some of those schools that we consistently hear about, and then that's how you get better, because they'll humble you.
So I'm curious about the following. You have, obviously we're at a public school, tryouts start November 15th. You have, I don't know, 15 players on your varsity roster, something like that?
I try to keep 12 to 13.
12 to 13. So of the 12 to 13 that will be on your varsity roster right now today, how many do you think you know will be on the roster, and how many spots are there for everyone else who tries out?
We lost. I have, if we're just basing this off of last year's team, we had 7 returnees. Seven returnees. That's not including kids I bring from JV. So if all of them make
7 returning from varsity.
7 returning from varsity. Yeah, I lost 6 seniors. So out of those 7, let's say if I keep all of those 7, and all of them decide to come out and stuff like that, so I'd have another 6 spots. If I get a good group, I will go to 14. I won't go 15.
And of those 6 spots, I mean, how many kids that were sophomores last year on JV will be trying out? Do you have any idea?
Only had 2 sophomores on JV.
Okay.
Yeah, I only had 2 sophomores. My JV was majority freshmen last year.
Any transfers at Southern that
Nah, you don't get fortunate enough to get transfers all the time. I was fortunate a couple of years ago to get a couple of transfers, but you know, they come a dime a dozen.
So how many kids would you expect will be at tryouts?
No more than 15. I mean, we've had years where we kept everybody.
Only 15 kids will come out for the team, so you're only gonna have to make like 1 cut or 2 cuts.
Yeah, if that. I mean, if it's a good group, I'll keep all of them. As long as those guys that won't play understand that they won't play unless it's a blowout.
Is that seems, I'm surprised by that. Is that normal that you only have 15 kids try out for the varsity basketball team?
Well, I've actually talked to some 4A coaches that actually had less than that. I think now we're in an era where the kids don't try out because they're scared to get cut. And I think by now, I think a lot of kids now, by the time they get to their junior, senior year, they know that most of the time the teams are set, and I think they're afraid to come out. So ever so often, you may get a sleeper here and there, but not too often.
So how about for the JV? How many kids typically try out for JV?
I can get usually most of the time I'll get at least 30.
Okay.
Yeah, so usually freshmen, they're green, so they don't understand, and
Right.
sometimes they may be playing for their parents or stuff like that. So I may have that much.
Okay.
I mean, we're at a school where lacrosse and soccer dominate majority of these kids. Majority of these kids that I get aren't kids that's played AAU for 5 or 6 years and stuff like that. I don't get those kids on a consistent basis. And I mean, I get a lot of multi-sport kids. Sometimes it's difficult because in the off season you may want to do some other things that some of your other coaching buddies do, but I can't. I may have a kid that's playing football, 2 playing football. I might have 3 playing soccer. I might have 1 playing fall lacrosse. So that's one of the difficulties that you have. It's rare that I get a team full of basketball players. And I'm not saying that those kids that play multiple sports aren't good basketball players, but I mean, kids that play basketball all the time.
All in, all year.
Oh yeah, all in. It's rare. I'll never have a team like that. As long as I'm here, I will never have a team that's like that. And not saying that I would want to, because I actually don't mind them having an outlet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about the past 6 years coming into this year. I know you said that first year was a little up and down.
Yeah.
But how's the rest of your career been up to date?
It's been good. It's been good. I mean, I was like obviously not getting to Maryland and win a state championship. Obviously, that's my ultimate goal. But I mean, we've had some opportunity over the last couple of years. I mean, last year we were close. I mean, we were one game away from the county championship, which would have been good because we're the smallest school in the county. Yeah, we play
Oh,
off.
really?
Yeah, our county is 12 schools, 1 2A, 2 3A, and the rest 4A. So, we don't play a 2A school unless it's out of conference. And some years, our only 2A school we've played has been in the playoffs.
Wow.
So, you know what I mean? So we're consistently playing bigger schools, but I don't like to use that as an excuse.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I've had other coaches come up to me and be like, man, that's tough, man. That's tough. That's tough. But at the end of the day, you have to use it to your advantage. Instead of looking at it like, oh man, it's terrible that we got to play the 4A schools. Well, it's an advantage because now we're playing bigger schools. So when we get back to our side, the schools outside will be a little bit more comfortable. But I've been fortunate. I've had some good players. I've had some good kids, and I've had some great coaches alongside me. And I wouldn't take anything back. Some of the stuff that we've wanted, I know, like some schools that we hadn't beaten in a while that we're starting to beat now, like Annapolis and Old Mill and those type of schools, Glen Burnie, those schools that we kind of went a while with beating. We started beating those guys and stuff like that. And I just didn't want people to look at us as an easy win. We lost those group of guys. I know some people probably thought, oh man, they're in trouble, but. There's some good kids down here.
The last few years, you've been in a loaded region, to say the least.
Yeah.
All the big dogs from PG.
Mm-hmm.
I know every 2 years, the MPSSAA kind of switches their classifications, switches their sections, their regions, and now you guys are finally out of that region. Talk about the region that you guys will be competing in the postseason this year.
Well, the region we're going to be in now, we'll be in there because they divided up in sections.
Right.
We'll be in there with in the SMAC side, which will be Thomas Stone, Westlake, Patuxent, those type of schools. So I think in our section, if we want to get to the sectional final, we're going to have to probably go through. No disrespect to any other schools, but Thomas Stone and Westlake are probably the favorites. They'll be good. They're very athletic. They're like a PG County team, so that's what we're going to go through.
Yeah.
On the other side, Howard County, some good teams out there. Oakland Mills.
That's in the other section.
The other
within
section,
the region? Okay.
yeah. Oakland Mills, Hammond, Wild Lake. So it's quite a few. Glen Elk. So some good teams on that side. And the last few years, our section has been, freaking loaded.
Yeah.
You had Douglas, who was over the years. Massenburg had some loaded squads over there. Glick, my buddy Glick, he had some very good teams. Pew had some good teams over at Central. Carlson was good. Friendly. It was no nights off. One year our section, nobody had a losing record.
That's crazy.
Nobody in our section.
That's crazy.
And it's just crazy. You look at a team that was as good as Douglas was over the last 3 years, never made it to Maryland. And they were good enough to win the state championship.
Yeah.
It is not nothing that they did wrong, but that's how loaded that region was. It was like, it was just like unbelievable.
Is this the first year since you've been a head coach that you're not in the same section or region with the PG schools?
Yes. This will be the first.
So you got to be pretty excited about this. I know you still have tough teams in there.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's much of a secret that PG and Baltimore City are usually the two best counties in the state of Maryland, year in and year out. And the fact that you don't have to battle with those teams is, I don't know, refreshing.
Yeah, because there's some great coaches, some great players over there. I actually was able to build some relationships with some great coaches over there, and and some of them took me under their wing and talked to me and stuff like that. And even they knew it was a tough region. For everybody, not just for us, but for a team like Largo, who maybe when they had Abdul, who's All-Met Player of the Year, which is rare for a public school player to get All-Met Player of the Year, and they didn't even make it. They didn't even make it to the regional final.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they were good. It just it was just a tough region. So I think our kids are excited. I think. They feel kind of relieved that they're not in that PG region,
right.
But they also understand that it's good teams. They've seen Westlake this summer. They've seen Thomas Stone. They've heard about the good teams and Howard County, so they understand it's not going to be easy.
Right.
But PG County and Baltimore City. That's a different animal right there.
For sure.
Definitely.
For sure.
Definitely.
Coach, you are a very visible presence. I personally see you, I mean, a lot, maybe more than any other coach in terms of just being at events, being at different basketball games when Southern has a night off. Talk about like how you're so visible and kind of how that's important for your makeup and what it is that you do in the DMV basketball community outside of being the head coach at Southern.
Well, I love basketball. Anybody that knows me knows that I love basketball. You know, so I like going around and seeing players I always hear about or watch videos of. And also I like to support some of my coaching buddies too.
Right.
You know, so sometimes, like I remember one time I saw you up at Roosevelt and Blade. I like both coaching staff, so I just wanted to come in and just watch good basketball. And we're fortunate enough that we play our games early on Tuesdays, so I can go catch a late PG County game. So I like that. As far as I've been fortunate enough to work some stuff for DMV Elite and all that type of stuff, so I've been able to network and meet with some coaches. I just feel as a young coach, I think the best way to get better in this business is by networking and meeting people. And I always tell these young coaches that if you want to go somewhere in this business, you need to latch on to people. And that's one thing that I feel that I try to do all the time. I try to latch on with good people. You know what I mean? I might not coach AAU, but I talk to a lot of AAU guys. You know, I may not be associated with this or that, but I just like to be around basketball and being around people because I think that's how you learn in this business.
You're a Southern product. You've been the coach. You've been at this school for a long time. What would happen if a private school came knocking and wanted to give you a job? How, like, I don't know if you had interest from other schools, but you're a successful coach and you're driven, and I think you're very well respected. How, like, walk me through that.
I've had a couple opportunities. I've had 3 private schools that's talked to me about, you know, their job.
Yeah.
And 2 in particular, I think I would have had a really good chance to get. You know, one thing that I have, it's not like I'm the greatest coach in the world, but I have had like different schools come up to me and be like, don't you want to coach at a basketball school? Because let's be honest, they don't look at Southern as a basketball school. I do because I'm here. You know what I mean? So regardless of what school I'm at, regardless of how other people interpret it, I look at whatever school I'm at, it's going to be a basketball school. So I've had some private schools, and of course, they'll be like, well, don't you want to do this and do that? Or other public schools that are bigger schools, be like, don't you want to be at a school where you have more basketball players and stuff like that?
But there's a little truth to that. I mean, not saying Southern is not a basketball school, but there's definitely other schools that may be a little more centered around basketball.
Yes. Right? Yes, but you know, I have a good situation here. I mean, I have a great AD who has known me since I was 15 years old. I mean, I have a great administration. I have great kids. You know, I don't go home at night like some coaches just dreading their team and stuff like that because I have great kids. You know, and it may be, you know, another 5-10 years from now, you know, maybe I will be like, you know what, I do want another challenge. But I feel like I have unfinished business here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I have had, like I said, I've had a couple of job offers that I actually went on multiple interviews for, you know, as far as the interview process. But, you know, it's just something about your alma mater and something about being home.
Right.
You know?
I get that for sure. Assistant coaches, every coach I've talked to says how instrumental it is to have a group of assistant coaches that help them out with day-to-day operations. Tell me about your experience, A, hiring a staff, and B, how it's been trying to retain them.
Yeah. I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by good people. Yeah, I've had my staff right now. I have Lewis Watkins, who's been with me from my first year coaching JV, Curtis Holland, who's been there pretty much too, even though he wasn't coaching officially on the staff. You know, first couple of years he was always around behind the scenes. My JV coaches, Sean Greenfield and Jack Rogers, who I feel like it just remind me of me when I was their age. And then I was fortunate enough just to hire a guy named Darryl Reed, who was the head coach at Broadneck. He was at Severn School last year. He's with me. So, I mean, I have a great staff. I think that it's very important that you have guys that understand what it's all about and they understand that their job is to assist and to make my life easier. I don't want to do everything. I want to be able to manage a game and knowing that I'm getting suggestions. I don't want a fan. I don't want a yes man. I want somebody that's going to tell me, hey, coach, man, maybe we need to get him out the game, or maybe we need to switch defenses, or let's run this, or let's run that. And I want somebody that actually wants to come to practice. That's why I want my coaches to coach. I don't want them just to sit in the corner on their phone. I want them to be engaged and talking and just doing something.
Do you think like delegating different responsibilities to different coaches is important at this level, or do you think, like, do you have different guys concentrating on different things?
Yes.
Or does everyone kind of do a little bit of everything?
Yeah, so normally how I do it is, like as far as varsity, we'll have 4 coaches. I have 6 total coaches, including me. 4 of us on varsity, 2 on JV. And how I do it on varsity, 2 doing offense, 2 doing defense. So that's how we split it up like that. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's going to be my final decision, but I figure by doing that, that'll be one less thing off my plate.
Gotcha.
Because I don't want to be doing everything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's good. And plus, by giving them something to do, it'll make them more engaged. It'll make them want to watch more film. It'll make them want to, do more than just sit down the bench thinking I just keep stats. I can get a kid to do stats. I want coaches that want to coach, who want to get better.
Coach, hot topic as of late is the shot clock that will be administered for this coming season.
Yeah.
I know a lot of coaches are excited about it. A couple coaches I've talked to are against it. Curious to get your thoughts and kind of how it's gonna change strategy.
Yeah.
How many coaches are gonna be, really trying to take advantage of getting a 2-for-1 at the end of a quarter. How many coaches are going to really know, like, at what point do I foul and at what point do I play the rest of the clock out if I'm down by 1 with 38 seconds left in the game? Just your thoughts on that.
I thought it was long overdue. I think we should have had a shot clock. I wish they had it when I was in school. That was probably my toughest transition to college.
Really?
Was getting used to a shot clock. Yeah, because pretty much, even though you don't hold the ball, it's a little different now. If it's 10 seconds left on the shot clock, now you got to be extra, more aggressive. Where back then in high school, okay, we just pull it out and just reset our offense. Well, you can't reset your offense if you only have 5 seconds left on the shot clock. So I think it's good. It'll help prepare our kids for the next level. Plus, I think it'll make the games more realistic. I mean, I've been to games where coaches have held the ball for a quarter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And stuff like that. And that's not basketball. I understand that's a part of the strategy, but that's not the basketball that, fans want to see. So I'm looking forward to it. My mindset obviously is going to have to change. In practice, we already work on situations, but we're going to have to work on it even more in depth now because, like you said, now with like 2-for-1s and it's, time score situations and stuff like that, I need to make sure that my kids understand that. From the first freaking game of the season, we need to understand how to deal with that. It's going to be a transition. That's why in practice, I'm going to lower the shot clock. I actually talked to a couple of college coaches about asking them how do they teach their kids how to deal with the shot clock, especially because a couple of years ago the shot clock actually changed for them from 35 to 30. So the couple of coaches I talked to, they actually told me some strategies and stuff like that. So that's what I plan on doing. I'm going to lower the shot clock in practice and just getting us into getting used to getting into our offense faster. I think you're going to see a lot more zone because a lot of kids just aren't patient already in the zone. And then you add a shot clock to it. Now they're really going to panic. 8 seconds left on the shot clock. Them jokers ain't going to look for the next pass. They're going to try to, just thinking shot clock.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be good. It's going to help those athletic teams. I think it's going to hurt those slower, methodical teams that run more systematic stuff and a lot of continuity stuff. It's going to be kind of tougher for them because a lot of times if you knock them off their path, they just reverse. You're not going to be able to do that now.
Do you think that it's going to be difficult to find a shot clock operator who knows what they're doing? I've talked to a couple of people who are really worried that, someone's going to, just the math teacher is going to be in charge of it, and he's not going to realize that the ball didn't hit the rim, and he's going to reset it. And the referees, since a lot of counties only have 2 refs instead of 3, they're not going to be on top of everything. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that the one thing that the county should do, but I don't know as far as the budget stuff like that. I think they need to add a 4th official.
A 4th to be in charge of
To
the
be in
clock.
charge of the clock. I think it's about that time. I mean, I've been a part of games, and I've seen games as a fan where, you know, the home clock operator does some shady stuff. You know what I'm saying? And whether it be taking a 10th of a second off the clock, or, you know, when somebody calls a timeout, they let some extra time go off the clock and stuff like that. So, you know what I mean? I think it'd be good to have a referee there. They do it in football. You know, for varsity football games, the referee.
Really?
Yeah, for varsity football games, the ref is doing the clock.
Wow.
Yeah. So we do it for football. Why can't we do it for basketball?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to be safe. Not saying do it for JV games, but do it for, you know, varsity games.
Especially playoff.
Especially playoff games, because, you know, you have a lot more at stake.
Yeah.
And not saying that, you know, regular season games aren't important, but, you know, playoff games, that's the last thing you want. You want to see a kid messing around with a clock. And you know, nowadays kids are always on their phone. I've seen situations where kids are on their phone or talking to somebody next door and the clock's running. So, I mean, then the ref comes over there and adds 5 more seconds than what really was on the clock, and then you're mad. And then, so I just think that it would eliminate the situation. But it's definitely, I think it definitely is going to help basketball a lot. And it's going to force us coaches to prepare our teams better.
Private versus public basketball. Private schools have to recruit. A lot of times they're recruiting kids from your backyard or from other public schools' backyards. It's a part of the game. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Just kind of want to get your thoughts on the difference between public and private, how they play off each other. Just general thoughts on that whole situation.
Yeah, obviously, I think they both can coexist, because obviously they do. I think that the biggest difference between public and private, and other than, you know, the talent level for a lot of times, but I think the fact that they can do more in the off season. You know, we're so handcuffed. We only can work with 2 players per day per coaching staff. So, not saying that you can't get better, but, you know, if I have 8 guys that want to get in the gym, I only can get in there, you know, 2 kids. I mean, how can I get better? You know, stuff like that. So it's a lot of rules being handcuffed. It's a lot of good public school teams. It's a lot of good public school teams that could beat private school teams. You know, I just think that, you know, the resources and being able to get whoever you want, and that's a big difference. You know, a lot of people tend to look down on public school. They think you can't go to college from public school, but that's false. You can talk to private school coaches, and they'll even tell you that, you know, you can go to Division I or Division II and get a scholarship from going to a public school. It all depends on what AAU team to go to. If you go to play for the right AAU team and they promote you like they can, and you play like you can go to any level. Like I said, we've had 4 D1 kids the last 7 years at our school. Small 2A Southern. So you can't tell me that it's not possible. But we've been fortunate enough that my kids have played with great AAU teams, and they've been hooked up with the right people, and that's why they was in the position that they were in.
How much involvement do you have in getting a kid to play in the right AAU situation? I know some coaches are very removed from that situation and kind of let the kids and the family just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Some coaches really want to try to get their kids into the, you know, best situation. Where are you in terms of kind of how AAU and high school coexist?
I'm kind of in between. I'll tell them some teams that they may look at playing, and I'll let them go try out or practice with them and see what they think, and then I'll give them, you know, my feedback and let them know what I think. But ultimately, it's their decision, because I'm not going to be the one taking them to practice. I'm not going to be with the one at the tournaments and stuff like that. So pretty much I just, you know, give them the pros and cons of playing with this team or that team, and let them, you know, make the final decision. I don't coach, you know, AAU. I'm not affiliated with anybody. I don't like this one more than that one. You know what I mean? I just want to get my kids better and put them in the right situation. You know, it's a lot of good AAU teams around here, so I feel like you can't go wrong, you know, anyway.
I want to get your take on since you've been kind of around the high school basketball game, tell me like some of the top memories you've had, maybe some of the top games you've been to, some of the top players you've seen. Just your overall, if you had to look back at your involvement in high school basketball, some top memories.
Well, I would say going back to when I was playing, definitely the best player that I've seen when I was coming up was Keith Bogans. Unguardable. He was like a grown man. I remember going to watch him play, and it was just like watching a grown man out there.
On that scene with like Joe Forte.
Oh man, him, Forte, Billy Eland.
Yeah.
I mean, they were freaking loaded. I've definitely seen some good players. Reggie Bryant went to Cabot Hall, Villanova. He was really good. I remember Meade had a very good team. I thought they should have won the state championship in '98. They were loaded. They had a kid on there in '98.
98?
They had a kid go to Texas. They had another one go to Maryland.
98 was the year
that Gaithersburg
played the
won.
5 overtime game.
I thought that Meade team could have beat both of them. But what happened was Meade lost to Annapolis. And Annapolis was good, but I think Annapolis went a year too early. Because Meade was full of seniors. They were loaded. It's like I said, they sent 2 kids Division I, and those 2 wasn't even the best player on the team.
Wow.
Yeah, they were freaking loaded. I saw the Douglas team. They were loaded with Tyler Smith and Gerald Brown and those guys. I mean, that was one of the best teams I've seen. That friendly Sam Young team.
Yeah.
I mean, they were good. Lake Clifton team with Will Barton with the Barton brothers.
Yeah.
But I think out of all, I've seen some good high school teams. I think the best team I saw was that DeMatha team that one year. They was freaking low because, like I said, Keith Bogans was just a man amongst boys, and then you had Joe Forte, who was, another high major. I think they was the best, and the best public school I saw was probably that Lake Clifton team. With the Barton brothers, I was like, Cleveland Melvin was on that team too.
They beat Gwynn Park?
I can't remember who they beat. No, they beat Friendly in the championship.
I think they played. I think when I talked to Glick recently, he was telling me that they ran into the Barton brothers. Maybe the semifinals.
Maybe they did. They were freaking loaded. They were freaking loaded. And since I've been coaching, I've seen some good teams. One of the most impressive teams that I've seen, though, was that North Point team that Jimmy had a couple of years ago. They were beating publics and privates. I think Marquise Wright was probably the most underrated basketball player that I've ever seen since I've been coaching. If he was 6'2", 6'3", he was a high major. He had a great career at Siena. He was freaking good. We played against him when he was a sophomore.
Oh, really?
And I was like, oh my goodness. I just like the fact that he controlled the game he controlled the game. And I remember, I'm good friends with Jimmy Ball, and I remember asking him to send me a couple films, because I love the way his teams play, because they pressed you the whole freaking game.
Yeah.
I remember watching them in summer league. They were turning some of those WCAC schools over like there was nothing, because most of the time they don't play like that.
Yeah.
So I really liked him. I'm trying to think the best game I've seen. I've seen some good games. That Gwynn Park game versus Oakland Mills, when they beat Greg Whittington.
Yeah,
that was a great game. That was a really good. That was
the game. It was Gary Williams' birthday, and he was there. The crowd sang "Happy Birthday" to him. That was definitely a top 3 game I've ever seen.
Oh my goodness, that game was.
How about you weren't at Akil Carr against Milford Mill regional championship?
I heard about that game. I heard about that one. Did you was at that game?
That was one of the best games I've ever seen for sure.
Yeah.
What did you think of Akil Carr? Did you see him play much?
Yeah, I like this game. I love this game. I saw him when he was in 7th grade.
Oh, yeah?
When I was in 7th grade, they played in the tournament, and my buddy was like, man, you got to come see this kid. And I was like, gee, this kid is nasty. And then next thing you look, I kept reading about this kid at Patterson that was playing as a freshman, and then ended up being the same kid. I was like, I wonder where that kid went. Yeah. He was the real deal. I wish I could have watched him play in college.
Yeah.
I wish I could have watched him play in college. That's who Chris Likes reminded me of.
Yeah, from a size perspective, I think Likes is a little more of maybe a team player, better facilitator. But
yeah.
They definitely get it done at a pretty, pretty small size.
Definitely a coaching nightmare.
Yeah.
You know, definitely a coach's nightmare. I mean, there's no way you could sleep at night knowing you had to defend Chris Likes.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And the thing about it is, he may not have been that tall, but his heart was 7 foot tall.
You talk about watching film. How much film do you watch as a coach in a public?
Too many.
Yeah?
Too many. I like to watch film. I like to watch film at least two
By
or three
yourself,
times.
with your team, with your assistants, all that?
All of it. All of it. I like to, let's say we play a Tuesday game, I'll watch film that Saturday. And then I'll watch it again that Saturday night. And then I'll watch it again that Sunday. And then I'll watch it again that Monday. I just like to watch that film just to pick up tendencies and stuff like that. And then we'll watch it as a staff and as a team together.
Where do you get this film from?
Other coaches. Sometimes I go. I'd rather go to a game and watch it myself because for some reason I feel like film doesn't always show you justice. You know what I mean? You can't see how tall somebody is. He's crazy. You can look at the film and be like, dang, he's a little bit. He looked tall, but then you see him in person and be like, dang, he's a little taller than I thought, or he's a little bit more quicker and stuff. You know, it's a lot different watching the game live. So
yeah.
I try to watch a lot of film. I like to watch more film with my point guards, because they are an extension of me, so they need to know what's going on. So I watch a little bit more film with my point guard. And then if I have some players that may have a hard time picking up stuff, either myself or I have an assistant watch film with them one-on-one so they can, you know, break it down without the pressure.
When you watch it with them, you put it up on like a projector or a
we'll
laptop?
watch it. We'll watch it on the computer, and we'll break it down. So let's say I have my point guard in here, and we'll look at some film. Sometimes I already may have stuff clipped up already.
Right.
But if I don't, we're just watching the live film. We'll watch, and if I see something, and just have a Q&A, kind of like how Gruden do with his quarterbacks. You know, what did you see? What should you have done? And stuff like that, just so that we can try to slow the game up for them. Because as a point guard, it's very important for the game to be slow to them.
Are most kids pretty receptive to this, or do you find that some of them get bored with this?
Nah, I actually have some. I've been fortunate enough to have kids that actually want to come to me and watch film.
Really?
Yeah. You know, of course you're going to have that kid that doesn't want to watch film, he think it's boring, or he only want to watch his highlights and stuff like that. But I have some kids that'd be like, you know, can we watch film? Can you show me what I did wrong and stuff like that? Those are the type of kids I like. Those kids that want to be in there. Because I always preach to my kids there's a difference between, you know, playing basketball and being a basketball player. You know, if you want to play basketball, all you want to do is just play games and BS, shoot around and all that stuff. You're a basketball player. You watch film, you eat healthy, you go to bed at a normal hour, you make sure you have grades. You know, when you get in the gym, it's not always about just playing a game. It's about, let me go get some shots out, let me work on my ball handling, just little things like that.
How many times did you see Markelle Fultz play in high school?
Never.
Never?
Never.
Really?
Never. I never saw him play. I heard so much about him.
How's that possible? I see you in games every single night.
Never. That's crazy. I never saw him. I know when I tell people that, they can't believe it.
How do you think he's going to do in Philadelphia this year?
I think he's going to do very well, just from the little bit that I've seen him. Kind of hard to read him at Washington because he was hurt and they wasn't doing well and stuff like that. But man, I think he's going to do well. I'm definitely rooting for him. I mean, I haven't met him, but you know, he's a local kid, so I definitely want him to do well. Even though I'm a Wizard fan, but I think he's going to do well. I mean, to go from an unknown product to, you know, the number one pick in the draft, I mean, that's a remarkable story.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it lets you know how much talent that is here. He didn't even get Player of the Year.
He got WCAC Player of the Year his junior year.
Yeah.
But never All Met Player of the Year and WCAC Player of the Year senior year.
Yeah, he's a McDonald's All-American.
Mike's got it.
And McDonald's All-American, and it wasn't even Player of the Year.
Crazy.
It is crazy. I think that he's gonna. I think he's gonna do well. I mean, matter of fact, I don't even think they won the conference that year.
Who?
They had him and DJ Harvey. They didn't even win the WCAC title.
No, that was the year. DJ got fouled and missed those free throws.
That lets you know how good that league.
Yeah.
A team like that doesn't even win.
Yeah.
No. I mean, that lets you know how good that league is.
Yeah, for sure.
And stuff like that.
Lonzo Ball, the Ball family.
Yeah.
It made news recently that LeVar Ball took the little one out of high school. What are your thoughts on that situation?
He's taking that kid's childhood away. I wish he would just let the boy enjoy being a kid for his last 2 years. You know, he already has pressure on him because he's Lonzo Ball's little brother and LeVar Ball's son. But now he's doing so much stuff that's going to cause so much resentment to him. I mean, I remember doing AAU this spring and this summer. I mean, everybody just couldn't wait to just get a piece of that boy. And I felt bad for him. Every little thing he does it's being highlighted. I wish he would just be hands off. It's a lot of parents these days are too involved. You know, they don't just allow their kid to go through the process. You know, it's like they're trying to live their moment through their child. And I think one thing that I notice now is like we don't tell kids it's okay to fail. You know, if you're not playing, it's not your fault. It's because the coach don't like you, or it's not fair, or you got favorites and stuff like that. We never tell a kid, you know what, you're not good enough. It's okay. But in the real world, there's going to be a job interview. It's going to be a college that you may try to get into. That you know, they're going to tell you you're not okay.
Yeah.
So you got to start dealing with it. You're not going to hear yes for the rest of your life. You're not going to have your way the rest of your life. And I think, you know, sports is a perfect chance to teach life lessons. But we're not allowing sports to teach life lessons because we feel that if something's not going our way, I need to step in instead of letting our kid handle themselves as young adults.
Yeah. Well said. Well said.
You know,
Tell me about yourself outside of basketball a little bit. I know basketball is a major component of your life.
oh yeah, I'm real laid back.
Yeah.
Real laid back. I still play a lot of basketball myself.
Do you?
Oh, a lot. I like to talk trash. Yeah, with a couple coaches. So it's, you know, it's a good fun time. You know, it's good brotherhood to go play. I'm a little older now, so I'm out of my partying days. So, you know, I'm a little bit laid back and stuff like that. And I go to a lot of games. I'm a big Georgetown fan. I go to a lot of Georgetown games. I've become a more of a Maryland fan since Neiman's over there now. So I'm becoming a Maryland fan, you know, a little bit. So I try to go to as many games as possible. But, I mean, I don't do much. Hang out with my friends, watch some games, stuff like that. But I'm a real low-key dude. You know, with coaching and stuff, there's always something going on. So whenever I get some downtime and free time, you know, then I like to take advantage of that.
Tell everyone exactly what it is that you do here at Southern aside from being the basketball coach.
I'm a student advocate, and we're pretty much I have my hands in so many pots. The purpose of this position is pretty much to be the happy medium in between teachers, administration, and students. You know, pretty much to have people to have their back. So I have a caseload full of kids that I work with, and I pretty much just give them that extra
The
push in
same
the
kids
back.
that you work with continually, or
Nah,
does that change
I like working with freshmen because I think that's the roughest transition. I think the transition from 8th grade to 9th grade is very tough. You know what I mean? Because now you're going from being around kids that play with toys to now being with kids that are actually, you know, have responsibility of cooking dinner for their family and stuff like that. So just to make it a smooth transition and just to make sure that they, you know, doing their homework, they're taking advantage of their study time and making advantage that they're taking advantage of their time in general. So I like it.
How many people are there in your role at the school here? Are you the only one?
Just one.
Just
some
yourself?
some schools have more. Our school's so small and
How
stuff
many
like
students go here?
that. We have under 1,100, so we're about like 1050.
Okay.
Yeah, 1050. So you know.
Well, tell me about some of the best players that you've coached against in your tenure here at Southern.
The toughest dude we had to prepare for was by far Abdul Bandu from Largo. I mean, he was just so tough because he could guard 1 through 5. I mean, he was athletic. He was an animal on the glass. I mean, Coach Lou did a great job of putting him in, you know, a position to be successful.
How much film do you watch on him?
Oh, my gracious. Oh, my goodness. I mean, and plus, you can't simulate that in practice. You can't simulate a 6'6", you know, athletic kid. You couldn't do that. I mean, and like I told our kids over and over again, you know, what we need to do and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you don't realize what it is like until you actually see it up close and personal.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, you know, some people, a lot of times if I play against a good big man, I know certain ways to take him out. Because most of the time, good big men don't give us problems. But he gave us problems because he was so athletic.
Yeah.
So what I normally do to bigs, I couldn't do to him. Yeah. You know, so he was definitely the toughest guy that we had to prepare for. I mean, he just was just I mean, unbelievable.
Any other guys who've kept you up at night getting ready for him?
I like him. I'll tell you what team had me up all night preparing for was that Douglas team from 2 years ago. Cam Hayes and Donald Curry, that team. I watched tons of film on them. That team was loaded. And you know, Douglas teams play so hard. You know, I mean, they play so freaking hard. I mean, that was probably one of the best teams that I played against. I mean, that I've coached against, definitely. I mean, just because, you know, they were big. I mean, they didn't have public school size. They had private school size. I mean, you look at it, they had 3 Division I players on that team. You know, so that was a tough one.
Tell me about some of maybe your coaching mentors. I know you've alluded to latching on to different guys and trying to take stuff from different guys, but I know you're out there a lot, meeting a lot of people, working different events, different camps and stuff. Any guys who have really kind of inspired you or
Yes.
helped you along the way?
Well, first and foremost, definitely my high school coach, Tom Albright. Like I said, he was a legend, and I learned a lot from him. He taught me a lot, especially about preparation. I thought that I learned a lot playing for him because we were always prepared. We never lost a game because of him. You know, a lot of times people will say, well, you know, the coach lost y'all the game. I can't speak for other people, but I know as far as my tenure with him, he was never the reason we lost the game. And we had a game we lost, and the kid did exactly what he told us was going to do. We didn't stop it. You know what I'm saying? So I learned a lot from him in preparation. I mean, he was a great guy, and he loved the kids. I mean, he really was all for the kids. The college coach, Randy Gregory, I learned a lot from him because he taught a lot about discipline and about holding kids accountable. You know, he taught us that, you know, at the end of the day, that, you know, it's just a game. But, you know, your respect is something that you're always going to have, and you need to make sure that at the end of the day, when it's over, that you can say you gave it your all, you did the right thing. So I definitely learned a lot from him. Then I've been fortunate enough, I mean, in county, I've had coaches that looked out for me. Mike Francis at Old Mill and Mike Rudd of Glen Burnie. I mean, those are 2 coaches offhand that definitely took me under their wing. Then across the state, Lou Wilson. I mean, Lou Wilson took me under my wing, took me under his wing. And I mean, to have somebody that was a freaking coach in the McDonald's All-American game, you know what I mean, take me under his wing the way he did. I mean, I'm greatly appreciative of that. You know what I mean? And I know he's only one phone call away. If I ever have any issue or need anything, all I got to do is call or text Coach Lou, and he's going to look out for me. Dale Lambert, Thomas Stone, same way. And Mike Glick and Josh Pratt. I mean, those guys really have taken me under my wings, and I mean, and look at those 4 guys. Who couldn't ask? And there's been a host of others. And I'm sure this might be somebody I'm missing, but those 4 I know in particular, you know, outside of this county that's really, you know, looked out for me, stuff like that. And us young coaches, you know, sticking together too, like Coach O and his staff at Bladensburg, Chuck Henry, Nick Wilson. You know, Jimmy Ball. So I've had, you know, quite a few guys that really, you know, look out for me.
As you know, you were definitely one of the younger guys at one point.
Yeah.
But you're moving up the ladder a little bit. Do you see yourself trying to take younger guys under your wing the same way other guys do?
Oh yeah, definitely. Right now, young guy, I'm trying to look out for Tobias. He's coaching down at Huntown now, and I'm trying to like take him under my wing. Even though he's not with me, I'm trying to take him under my wing. And of course, you know, my JV coaches, I mean, just trying to take them under my wing because I remember what it was like to be that guy, you know, that one like that. And just let them know that, you know, what comes with this is sacrifice. You have to learn that you have to sacrifice. There's going to be some mornings that you're going to have to go to an event that you don't want to go to. But if you want to network and meet other coaches and meet college coaches and stuff like that, you got to deal with it. Even if you go for an hour, it's better than just not going at all. But I don't mind being that guy. You know, just letting these coaches know, these young coaches understand what it takes. And I don't know everything, But that's why I put myself in the position to be around certain people that I can learn from. Like those names I told you, I've learned something from every single one of them that I'm going to keep with me every year that I coach.
What should we expect from Southern basketball this year?
I think we're going to be a team that's going to contend for a county championship, contend for a region championship, and contend for a state championship. I think we're right there. I think we just need to get over the hump.
What are your strengths and what are your weaknesses?
For our team?
Yeah.
We're not as big as we normally have been. The last couple of years, we've had a lot of size. You know, you get the amount of size that we've had at a 2A school is rare. So we won't be as big as we normally are. But we'll be.
How big will you be?
I'll have a 6'5" and a 6'4". I mean, I'll have a 6'4" wing, 6'3" wing. So we won't be small, but we won't be, big. I think our strength is going to be our shooting and our guard play. We'll be experienced. Last year we were kind of inexperienced a little bit, but our seniors really stepped up and did a great job of playing, like I said, how seniors are supposed to play. So I need this group of seniors to do that, and I think they have. They've been working hard. You know, we got to stay healthy and stay the course and stay focused. Don't let outside influences, because with high school, girlfriends will come and that could just bam. So we got to just take care of that. But I mean, I really think we're going to be successful. I think we have a good team. We have a good mix. I mean, it's a good start having, somebody that's considered one of the best players in the state. And I have a lot of guys that are underrated and have some good young and up-and-coming boys. So I think we're going to be good for the next couple of years. I like my freshman class that I have.
Well, Coach, we greatly appreciate you letting us in here. This about wraps things up. The last thing I want to do is just give you an opportunity if there's anything you feel is important. Here's a platform to talk to the DMV basketball community.
I think the main thing that we need to do a better job in the DMV basketball community, is sticking with each other. I think sometimes it's too many people that are trying to steal from each other instead of trying to help each other. At the end of the day, you know what I mean, we're one big basketball area. When people talk about certain areas, they don't say just, PG County, Howard County, DC. They always say, DMV. I think we need to stick together. It's a lot of good basketball players in this area. It's a lot of good basketball players that will continue to come from this area. So I think that we don't need to really take from each other or be against each other, but I think we need to stick together and let's show the rest of this, the rest of the world that the DMV is the best basketball area in this country. I truly believe that. For as small as this area is, we produce a lot of good basketball players and a lot of good coaches.
Agree with that. Last thing, question I ask every coach in this series, put you on the spot here. Pick up basketball game today over at the gym here at Southern. Every coach in the DMV is ripe for the picking. Who's your first pick?
I'm taking my boy Marcus Johnson, assistant coach at Indian Creek.
Okay, tell us about him.
Marcus is about 6'5", wing. He played at College of Charleston.
Okay.
And I know I've been fortunate enough. I played AAU with him, and I've seen him play against a lot of people over the years. And I'm taking him.
Is he a good one?
Oh yeah, he can play.
How about head coaches? Who would you take?
Ooh. Now I'll tell you, in his prime or right now.
I mean, I think right now, kind of a combination. Yeah, right now.
Yeah.
Right now.
Whew. I see. That means right now I'd have to take one of the young boys. Then I would have to, because I know the old school guys. Them guys like I heard Dan Harwood and Rob Garner and I can't forget my boy Renard Johnson at Potomac and him. I can't forget about him. That's a good question. Man, head coach too. Chuck Henry will probably be the guy I would pick. I know it's a lot of good head coaches that can play, but out of the ones that I've seen, I actually played in the league with Chuck, so I would have to go with Chuck Henry.
All right, Chuck Henry, another vote. Coach Maynard, we really appreciate you letting us in here. It's been great, catching up with you, learning a little bit more about your basketball background. We're excited to see what Southern has to offer this year. I know you guys You guys got a horse this year, so we'll see how you ride him. But it's been great catching up with you, and thanks again.
Nah, thank you. I appreciate you guys, or Capital Hoops, for coming out here to our school and coming to talk to me. And hopefully you'll come back for a game this year.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.